Good afternoon. All of our previous speakers have spoken very eloquently about the who, what, when, where, and why of all the changes that are coming up. I want to focus on the how things are going to change. My feedback in here. With so much change in the air, sometimes it helps to start with where we are, and then we'll move on to where we're going. And so let's start with the FRS and with the implicit structure of the SL and the GL. If I can have my yellow bucket people come up. No, come over here. I don't bite. I don't bite. You guys are doing great. This is a highly trained job. I mean, HR didn't qualify. Everybody didn't qualify. These yellow buckets represent the FRS General Ledger, or GL, in FRS. If I had a bucket for every GL that we have, there would be a string of 17,000 yellow buckets going halfway to Durham. Okay. Some of you will say, well, okay, that's interesting. I don't use the General Ledger. You're going to have to work with me on the audience participation. When I say someone will say, I want you to repeat what I'm saying, okay? I don't use the general ledgers.
I don't use the general ledgers.
What difference are they to me?
What difference are they to me?
I am so glad you asked that question. This is real stuff. This is real. Right, money. Martha's been a bad girl. I'm not going to give her as much as everybody else. I like Vanessa. Make sure she has a lot. I've just put $1 billion into these 3 buckets. These 17,000 buckets, actually. 1 billion reasons why you should be concerned about what goes on in the General Ledger. The General Ledger in FRS is the foundation of our accounting system. You can't have an SL account before you have a General Ledger account. Everything's based on them. They are very important. Now, some of you will say, okay, they're very important.
Okay, they're very important.
What's that got to do with me? I'm so glad you asked that question. Yellow bucket people. Blue bucket people. I get my colors mixed up. That's it. That's it. You guys, again, more highly trained university employees. There you go. Let's just stand nice and close. There you go. These blue buckets represent the FRS SL. You'll notice that they have a label in front of them with lots of interesting things written on them, like the account number, the name, map code, department purpose, and other things. Each of these blue buckets is tied to just one yellow bucket behind it. And the blue buckets stand in front of the yellow buckets, hiding them. When Mary wants to buy pencils for Professor Jones in chemistry, she looks in her blue bucket, sees if she's got budget, and then she goes out and does an ePro order for pencils. When the pencils come in, a receipt, if you will, is placed in the blue bucket. But you're going to notice something. There's no money in this blue bucket. The pencils were paid for by the yellow bucket that has the cash behind it. All the blue buckets do, that was not in the script. All right. All the blue buckets do is collect similar transactions that have actually occurred on the yellow bucket behind them. Similar meaning that they share exactly the same description on the label. Okay. Got to think about where I am. Well, you got me confused. Some of you will say, okay, that's very interesting. We have a lot of blue buckets.
We have a lot of blue buckets.
How does that affect me?
How
guys are now excused. In PeopleSoft. A lot of you want to know, how is this going to change in PeopleSoft? How is it going to change in PeopleSoft? Well, the very first thing that's going to happen when we go into PeopleSoft is there'll be no more blue buckets. They'll be gone. Don't come to me on the day we go live saying that you need to buy some pencils. Where's my blue bucket? They'll be gone, and they're not coming back. And the time to start getting ready for that is now. We are a 200-plus-year-old university. We have tens of thousands of people that work here, study here, teach here, and do research here. And in a year and a half, we're getting ready. This $2.5 billion a year enterprise is going to throw its accounting system out with the trash. And if you're not just a little bit concerned about that, you're not paying attention. And of course, that's why you're here, because you're concerned. What we're left with after we get rid of the blue buckets are these nice yellow buckets, the FRS-GL, with all that beautiful money in them. This is your key to understanding how things will transition into PeopleSoft. The yellow buckets in FRS become yellow buckets in PeopleSoft. The FRS-GL becomes the PeopleSoft fund. They will act the same, taste the same, look the same, feel the same, work the same, have all the same superpowers. The name will be the same. We'll change the value because we're reorganizing the ranges, but for all practical purposes, they'll be identical. Just as the FRS-GL is foundational in FRS, the PeopleSoft fund will be foundational in PeopleSoft. Very good. I can take your buckets now. And this becomes your stepping stone for the future. You can excuse yourself. Thank you. But some of you will say, but Robert, without blue buckets, how will we pay for our pencils? In PeopleSoft, the blue bucket in FRS becomes the chart field string. Okay, let's try that again with a little bit better timing. Okay? Not yet. Woo. I'm going to talk to you two people. If you've got a set of binoculars, you can see that there are some similarities between what's written on the front of this blue bucket and what's on the chart field string. Things like chemistry department, map code, things like that. Some of you will say, but Robert, if these things are the same, why did we change and why did we go away from the blue buckets?
Why did we go away from the blue buckets?
I am so glad you asked that question. Three things. One, the easiest way to think of this, the chart field string, as you can see, is composed of 8 little strings that have been tied together. You build the chart field string with the transaction at hand, using the values that you have available. The easiest way to think of it is the chart field string takes the place of the label on the blue bucket. We're going to put a label on each transaction such that we no longer need the blue bucket and, to categorize the transactions. The second thing is because we put that label on each transaction, the computer finds it really easy to sort through all these different numbers and do the reporting and everything else that we need it to do. The third major difference is these values can be shared between all the PeopleSoft chart fields. In FRS, each blue bucket was tied to just one yellow bucket. But in PeopleSoft, the values can all be shared, especially program and cost code can be shared between the funds. Okay, and now I think we're going to switch our slides. And so that's the fundamental change that we're going to experience in FRS is we're going to shift to the chart field string, which we have up here. This slide I refer to as the perfect slide. There are books written about the 10 most important inventions in history. Okay? Books, inventions that have changed people's lives and altered the course of civilization. Usually the wheel is at the top of those lists, followed by the inclined plane. And I don't even know what an inclined plane is. But this slide is on those lists of important things that have changed people's lives. Some of you will say, but Robert, why is this slide in those books? I'm glad you asked that question. This slide on one piece of paper describes each chart field element. You can see the 8 of them across. It describes how they relate to one another. It describes the questions that each chart field is asking a user. It helps you transition from FRS into PeopleSoft. Basically, this slide explains the new chart field string, and that is why it is in those books. When you leave tonight, you're going to pick up your handout back there. This slide is in that handout. I want you, when you get back to your office, to copy that slide, post it on your bulletin board. I want you to copy it again and put it in your departmental, your break room. I want you to put it on the copier and shrink it and put it in your wallet. I want you to take it home and put a copy under your pillow so you can sleep on it. If you have a significant other, I want you to take another copy, put it underneath their pillow, and when you wake up in the morning, you can discuss chart field strategies with your husband or wife. Time for a pop quiz. Okay, are the blue buckets going away?
Yes.
Does the yellow bucket in FRS become the yellow bucket in PeopleSoft?
Yes.
What is that yellow bucket chart field? The fun. What's the name of this slide? Everybody passes. A++. Obviously, we've got an awful lot of work ahead of us. Awful lot of really hard work. And the only way we can get it done is if we all work together. We can do this thing if we work together. On behalf of the project team and all the fine folks at ITS and the consultants, we look forward to working with each and every one of you. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much.